Welcome to Face to Face. This is a show about change and about what's next. It's a show that wants to ask questions, peel back the layers of our average everyday experience, and go beyond scratching the surface. We interview amazing people with incredible ideas and stories who have done wild, weird, and wonderful things. Remember that imagination shared creates collaboration, and collaboration creates community, and community inspires social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face. So my next interview is with Lily Zepeda and Jack Sim, and we talk about the man who is considered to be the world's number 2 man. I was trying to figure out a funnier way to say that, but I guess that's kind of funny enough in a sense. The film is Mr. Toilet. Yes, that's exactly what the film is called, Mr. Toilet. You're going to find out why Lily put up her dukes and said, I'm still going to make this film, even though she had filmmakers and producers telling her there's no way she could sell a film about poo. Yes, that's what this film is really all about. It's about normalizing the toilet. It's about the trust between this man Jack and Lily, between a filmmaker and the subject itself. We talk about grace and public toilets and why problems are not really something that we talk about. Jack will tell us that we don't really talk about things that we can't solve. We talk about the toilet revolution and this constipation of thought. And there's just so much humor built into not only the film, but into Jack's life and his family and how Jack believes we need to create good toilet culture. This is something, so many people in the world suffer from water and sanitation issues of various sorts. And Jack has taken this on as his personal project. And he's kind of winning as he comes alongside communities around the world. Yes, conversations about poop. We talk about life equaling passion and desire, and we talk about why we need to do as much as possible, Jack will say to us, and how every day is so precious. You're going to find out why Jack is a professional troublemaker, and I would say Lily is a little bit too. Some of the advice that Jack's going to give you as you listen in is to never grow up, and there's a reason for that. There's a wonder and there's a mystery to that, and I think Jack has certainly taken that into not only his approach to advocacy and activism, but his life as a whole. So coming right up, a conversation about Mr. Toilet. Don't touch that dial. And you can check out more about the film, MrToiletFilm.com. And don't forget, too, more information about my writing, my public speaking, davidpecklive.com. You can order a copy of my book, Real Change is Incremental, there. There's a link to Amazon. I'd love that if you did. And if you can't do that and you want to support the work we're doing at Face to Face, even as low as $1 a month, you can do that through patreon.com. Many people are now supporting the work that they do, certainly podcasting and other creative projects through Patreon. Please check that out if you're so inclined. If you can't do that, I totally understand. I'd love for you to leave us a review or a thumbs up on iTunes or Spotify. Share the podcast with your friends. Sign up for our newsletter that goes out once a month, giving people an update on what we're up to. And don't forget, too, so close to 450 interviews now on facetofacelive.ca, and also appear on rabble.ca, News for the Rest of Us, a whole host of other bloggers, podcasters, and journalists doing important work. Check that out as well. And don't go away. Coming right up, Lily Zepeda and Jack Sim talking about their wonderful and fun and engaging and important new film, Mr. Toilet. Well, welcome to Face to Face. We are joined by 2 very special guests here with us today to talk about, to talk about, I'm going to call it the great equalizer. We're here to talk about poop. Mr. Toilet is with us, Jack Sim and Lily Zepeda, to talk about their new film, Mr. Toilet. Thanks to you both for taking the time today to chat.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you talking about poop.
So happy to be here.
So why don't you both sort of just kind of guide the audience? Maybe I'm hoping some of my audience will get out to see the film over the next little while. Set some context for us, Jack, Lily. How you got into it? I certainly have a better understanding having watched the film. And by the way, congratulations, love the film. How can you not love a film about toilets?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, everybody does it, and then when you put a little humor into poop, I mean, it's gold. I originally got into this because the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation had announced that they were giving out a grand prize to the best toilet. And I thought it was a joke story, but it happens that they gave out the grand prize to Caltech University. So I said naturally, "Hey, can I come see your toilet?" And I did, and I spent a lot of time with them, and they eventually said to me, "You know what? If you think this is so interesting, what we're doing here, reinventing the toilet, why don't you talk to this guy named Mr. Toilet?" And I remember somebody showed me a caricature of, what Jack looks like in cartoon form,
Right.
and I was like, "This is it." And my producer and I had a phone call with him, and as soon as we hung up, my producer says, "That is what you call a character." So I knew it was going to be a film.
Yeah, no, I can totally understand that. Now, I want to just riff off of something you said. You said, and naturally, I decided to do this. I'm going to argue it's probably not natural. It's probably like there's some kind of drive there. So, and there's a drive for both of you. I'd love to talk about that. So, the drive of the filmmaker, the artist, the storyteller, the drive of this guy Jack who wants to turn the world upside down. So, can you both tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, so you're right. You got me. I think that, so I have a background in journalism and I got my degree in journalism, but I noticed growing up that I was never interested in the stories that were just kind of straight, like on the news, you hear about somebody murdered, or you hear about, just like your daily world news becomes kind of repetitive after a while. I was always interested in just weird people, weird things, just strange stuff you would hear out of nowhere. And this immediately caught my heart. I believe it or not, toilets caught my heart. And I was like, I have to do something with this. So it entertained what I've always dreamed of since I was a little girl. I didn't know I'd be covering toilets, but I knew I'd be covering somebody weird or something interesting. What about you, Jack?
Yeah, so I was a businessman until 40, and then I made some money. I realized that life is only about 80 years. So I thought I got to do something useful before I go away, because making some more money is actually a loss-making business, because you can't get more time and you are selling your precious time for more money, which you're not going to use. So it's a very kind of a reverse thinking that is not normal, but in reality, we all die. So how do you live your life in the most interesting and purposeful manner? And then I discovered that toilet was neglected. And so I took up the subject and make it really fun so that people will not be embarrassed, because people find it very uncomfortable talking about toilet. They can talk a lot about eating and drinking and whatever go into the body, then they can't talk about what comes out.
Right.
So I think toilet has to be a normal subject, because it is something you do normally 6 to 8 times a day. It is actually the happiest room in the world, because when you go in, you're not happy. When you come out, you're very happy.
It's kind of true. When you say that in the film, Jack, I couldn't help but think of let's just leave myself out of it for a second, but our dog, Sasha, every time Sasha poops, she spins around the backyard. If I had a tail, I'd wag it. She wags the tail and she charges back in the house, right? There's this energetic response, right? There's this passionate response to defecating. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
It is, and that's why we should all celebrate it and talk about it. Yeah, even your dog is showing you the signs.
Yeah, and I swear there's a smile on her face.
Lily called and said she want to make a movie, so I say, let's do it. So we met in New Delhi at the Reinventing the Toilet Fair, and we started. So at first I didn't know it would take so long. I thought maybe she'll shoot for 2 weeks. And then it became 5 years.
So, yeah, he thought it would be a 2-week situation, or eventually I would just quit or run out of money. But every a couple of months or so, I was knocking on his door, saying, "Okay, it's time to film again." 5 years later.
Yeah, I just keep go on, and Lily has to keep raising funds while also waiting for the next shot, because as we do things, it takes time. So we have to wait for project to finish and then come back to shoot the completed project. So there's a lot of waiting time that she used to fundraise. And I really admire the gumption of Lily because she started off not knowing how to make a film in the first place. She's a journalist, and then she gathered all the experts to help her, and she really assembled a consortium of very good advisors, and then keep on honing the film. And I have to do a lot of repeat, like do some more sound recording, because the last one was doesn't sound very clear, or retake shots and all that. And of course, one of the most torturing thing is to do B-roll and walking here and there. I don't know why making film you have to
But Jack,
walking.
Jack, that must appeal to your ego, though, shooting all the B-roll, those wonderful shots with the sun setting in the background and walking along the train tracks and so on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've not seen the film yet.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious because I want to tell the audience that your first time is also my first time, and I hope it's good for you.
Yeah. So he actually he actually has not seen it. We knows more or less the story, but we talked about it together, and he definitely agreed that he does want it to be a surprise. But I wanted to also prep him for a little bit about the narrative. So he knows a little bit.
So this
but
is
he doesn't know.
Lily, this is world premiere, right? Hot Docs?
World premiere, yes.
And there's a lot of trust there, because I don't know if she will make a film that upset some of my friends or whatever, but I don't think so. I trust her.
Yeah, he trusts me.
Yeah,
we'll
I think,
see. After tomorrow.
That's a whole subject in itself for an interview. Yeah, let's have an interview post screening to see if you still trust her, Jack.
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah,
pre and a post.
So Jack, you say at one point, just to sort of tie back to the comment you were making about what pushed you forward into this, into water and sanitation and trying to solve this ridiculous problem around the world. I think you point out, Lily, at the beginning, $260 billion a year is lost to problems with sanitation, and 2.5 billion people don't have access. I mean, these are crazy numbers. But Jack, I am interested to know, and I love how you start the film with the new day, the establishing shot of the blinds are opened, and you're going to step into this world and you have no idea where you're going, and then you tell us that the toilet is a spiritual room, and you got to let go and connect with the universe. Is that where you had the realization that you were going to take on this crazy problem? Were you sitting on the John, Jack? That's what I want to know.
Actually, no. One morning, I was reading the newspaper, and my prime minister was saying that we should measure our graciousness against the cleanliness of our public toilets. So I was really looking for something meaningful to do. And when I read that, I say, yes, nobody will do this. So let me start a restroom association in Singapore. And then I started to tell people to clean up the public toilet in the shopping center, in the schools, in all these transport centers. And then I realized that the world has a bigger problem. There is 2.5 billion people without toilets. So that switches the focus from just merely public toilet in the cities to also include people without toilets. And it became a whole big journey, traveling all over the world, just visiting everybody's poop. I mean, it's the most disgusting job you can ever think of. Traveling all over the world to the worst places to look at people's poop and how to solve this problem. And if there is no meaning in it, you can't do this job.
Yeah.
So it's really, really about wanting to make a difference and wanting to live a useful life before I go away.
I love how you talk about it in the film, in one of your interviews, or maybe during some of the narration, how you want to take the poop into pop culture. I thought that was lovely, and you really are, both of you, creating this marvelous, meaningful, long term, that will live on for many years. It seems to me, public engagement campaign. Really, isn't this about raising awareness? Don't you say at some point in the film, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get people to talk about this? I mean, isn't that really what this film is about? I mean, Lily, this is a question for you too, as a filmmaker and as the editor. As any, in any great film, to me, it's about so much more than just what I'm seeing up on the screen. And I mean, what I love about the film is you get into gender disparity. We're talking about justice. We're talking about poverty and the gap. I mean, there's so many issues that are raised in the film, and you do it in such a delightful way. Anyway, I'm interested about that, and this massive global public engagement campaign.
Yeah, so Jack taught me a couple things at the beginning of this film. He said, "You, what we don't talk about, we can't solve." And it sounds so simple, but we don't ever think that way. And another thing I had asked him is, well, what do you want from this film? This is really early on. He's like, Lily, I just want people to start talking about this. And I was thinking so much grander scale of things, and not that we won't use it for an impact campaign, but on a basic level, if we can have people start having conversations about this, and they're no longer embarrassed about something they do every single day, then we can move the conversation to other things, and they actually can open their hearts and minds to other things. Like you said, the gender disparity, how women have to go out early in the morning or late at night and risk either getting snake bites or getting worse, even getting raped, just to go to the bathroom, and they have to hold it all day. And so it's one of those things that is a greater meaning for me if I can make it funny, and if I can open people up. And then all of a sudden I even realize, just in showing people the trailer, or just in showing people in feedback screenings, they come up to me and they're like, oh, I have to tell you about this one time, this poop story. And they just spill their guts. They tell me the grossest things that they have never told friends or family. And right then and there, I started a conversation about poop. And that's what Jack taught me. So.
I think that this is not just a film for entertainment or information. This is a film that will help the toilet revolution, because the more people watch this film, the better the world becomes. That people start to realize, my goodness, this is something that I've never ever thought of, and it's so important. And they were always trying to avoid it because the subject of poop is incompatible with a wholesome self-image. And yet that toilet is just like sex, If you don't talk about it, you cannot improve. So long ago, the sex revolution, before that happened, there was so much that you cannot say. They're like constipated, right? And after the sex revolution, you now have it in the songs, you have it, it's just a normal subject. And I think it's so important to talk about it just for social justice, for your personal health, for teaching children to wash their hands, hygiene, intestinal worms, how not to get contaminated, pollution in the river, how we can get recycling of the urine and the poop back into fertilizer, back into nutrients to the soil. So many things in ecology, in social justice, education, how menstrual hygiene is. So many things to talk about, you see. So
absolutely.
I think
what Jack, what I love is it's such a simple subject, really. I mean, it's really just about, like you say, we do it 6 to 8 times a day, and yet it's connected to everything. It's connected to the food we eat. It's connected to the environments we live in. The simple fix of washing your hands every day. How something as simple as that could change the world, right?
Yeah. So I hope that the film will be going onto Netflix, going onto all these big distribution channels, not because that it's just a marketing thing, but it's a film that can save the world. It's a film that if more people watch, the world will become legit in taking toilet sanitation poop as something of their daily life. And we need good toilet culture, because whatever we do every day, 6 to 8 times a day, is culture.
Good toilet culture. I love it. Hey, Lily, talk to me a little bit about and did you get any pushback? I'm going to connect it to sort of the cultural pushback maybe of that one Brahmin, I think, who said that this culture change in India is going to take 100 years. Did you get any pushback over here? When you were trying to raise funds for it, did people think you were nuts? Did they roll their eyes? And then I want to I want to connect it to. Did you come up with any creative ideas for raising funds, like maybe selling Pooh Boy sculptures or something like that?
Yeah, that's really funny. So I always get pushed back a little bit on this, but I know that the person who doesn't see also the humor and value in it is probably not the right person for me. But I know some people are really squeamish as it is. I've had to pitch this film. I was at Hot Docs within 3 years ago pitching at the meat market, and there were some people that would tell me straight up, I cannot sell a film about poop. And they would just be like, end of conversation. Sorry, I can't sell. But I think what I really had to hone my pitch on, and which is true, this is a character-based film. This is a hero's journey. This is a film about an eccentric man who's obsessed with toilets, who goes on an impossible journey to save the world, and it happens to be a shit crisis, a poop crisis. So then once they realize this is more than just a cause-based film, it's actually a character-based film, and his cause happens to be this thing, I think people got on board a little bit more. And we did a really fun partnerships, like WaterAid during World Toilet Day sends out this app where you create your own poo emoji. You can dress it up in a hat or like different, garments or necklace. Yeah, of course you can. And then it was a great way to start a conversation on Twitter. And you start sending all your poo emojis, your personal poo emojis, on Twitter, and you're like, "Here's mine." And it was a campaign through WaterAid during World Toilet Day, which of course was founded by Jack. So these were kind of fun things we would engage in to get people talking, and we had fun. We also had fun gifts that we would give out on Kickstarter when we had a Kickstarter campaign in 2015, and Kickstarter loved it so much we were a staff pick that year. So I guess they got the humor. They got it.
Oh, that's really cool. Have you got a hashtag yet for the film?
We do. It's Give a Shit Now, or it's Mr. Toilet. I don't know if that's censored on your. I
say we spend about 30 seconds coming up with a few others, like hashtag Poo Matters.
Okay.
Or
yes, yeah. Hashtag I love my toilet. We use that one a lot.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I like hashtag I love my toilet.
Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they have used Toilets for All, especially when there's during the toilet fair, they use Toilets for All.
And Toilets for All was also the United Nations World Toilet Days resolution.
Mm-hmm.
And so after 13 years of founding the World Toilet Organization, our founding day, 19th of November, was unanimously adopted by all 193 country members of the UN General. And that's kind of really, really make the agenda legitimate, because prior to that, they call it water. And when you call something something else, you never get any attention, right? So when you call sanitation a water agenda, it's really our point. So we now successfully give sanitation its own center stage in the UN, and every country is now celebrating World Toilet Day every year.
So Jack, I've got a specific question for you. So some of I don't want to spoil too many surprises in the film. So I actually was going to go down a certain path. I'm not going to go down that path. So Lily, you say on your website that curiosity is the air you breathe. Is that right?
Yes, it's very true.
So I love that. I'm academically, I've studied philosophy forever. I still read it. So philosophy is all rooted in wonder. So wonder, curiosity, very similar, very connected. It's about the question. It's about discovery and mystery and so on. Jack, you are possibly one of the most driven people that I've never met. Hopefully, I'm going to meet you before the end of Hot Docs this year. But tell me, you've talked about wanting to make a contribution, and you don't want to live a useless life, and just making money is going to make you miserable. Is it curiosity? Is it wonder? Is it a drive to change the world? Like where does that all come from?
So I have a countdown on my phone till my death date, which is my 80th birthday.
Wow.
People say you don't know when you will die, but if you budget it, then you will know when you will die, right? Of course, you're not going to kill yourself. You're still alive the next day. But it's very, very important to be circumspect and know how many days you have left. And today I have 6,525 days before I die. So if you have so few days left, every single day is precious. Every moment got to be useful. And so the older I get, the lesser time I have, the more urgent I have to do more things. And that energizes me a lot. And so the passion is driven by the scarcity of time.
So you want to, you're incredible. Like, were you in accounting at some point? You're very economical about your time. I think it's wonderful. I don't know if I know anyone who would say, I've got X amount of days left, therefore I need to live, today. And what I find sort of interesting and maybe even ironic is you're always in the next idea, right? So you're always kind of in the next moment, which is sort of almost contradictory to the idea of every moment is precious. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, because if you're dead, you can do nothing. So while you're alive, you have to do as many things as possible, and you have to live multiple tracks as possible. So the more energy you have, the more life you have, the more things you can get done, because life is equivalent to the level of energy you are alive. If you're very tired every day because you hate your job and you really, really want to quit, then you don't really live a very fruitful life. But if you're very energized, you want to do something because you're so worried that if you die and this doesn't get done, then you want to use as much creativity and have as much purpose as possible. Because I could just play computer game and watch television, but nothing will happen. So I don't want to waste time doing that.
How have you how do you water the passion, Jack? I mean, I would think there are a lot of people in the world who will see this film, who will come out of it thinking, I want to do the same. I want to find an issue. I'm gonna, and this is what I mean about the public engagement campaign. And by the way, I mean, Lily, you must have thought about this, but I think this kind of cause-related film story, as you say, character-driven and so on, it's going to resonate with a lot of people. And I think I have to disagree with that distributor or whoever it was that said they can't sell a film about poo. That's just my 2 cents, by the way. But yeah. Anyway, Jack, how do you water that? How do you get out of bed every day and open the blinds and go, hey, it's sunny today, that's great. It's not sunny today, that's also great.
Yeah, I think that You find the biggest problem in the world and you want to solve it. In fact, I keep finding more issues that are even more exciting. I find uh, poverty, 4 billion people without connection to our former marketplace.
Yes.
These are farmers, fishermen, slum dweller. And I say, how can people live an animal state which is lower quality of life than the dogs in America? So I think that the world is not fair and we can find very, very big problem and solve it not by ourselves, but by creating a movement for everybody to join in. You see, the think about creating a movement is that you cannot be the person who solve it, but you trigger a whole chain reaction with media, with politicians, with academia who do research, with bureaucrats who will create budgets and spending, and then technologies and foundations, and everybody gets into the act. And that is where the movement have a life of its own. You're not controlling it, you're just fueling the fire, and things get done because everybody comes together.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful, lofty goal to have, and it's not lofty. I'm with you, Jack. I think it's absolutely doable. I think we live in a really cynical age, unfortunately, and people often, not everyone, but often are kind of, well, it's great for that guy, but I'm gonna do this instead, or I'm gonna hunker down and keep playing the video games. I mean, that is the cynical response, but I so love that Lily has captured this part of you in the film, and frankly offered up not only something that's incredibly affirming, but a real challenge to us all as well. Lily, what do you take? I mean, you must have had a lot of footage if you shot for 5 years, I would think. How hard was it to piece the story together, or is it actually pretty easy? It's kind of a pretty interesting subject matter right out of the gate, it seems to me.
Yeah, it's actually really difficult in the sense of number one, filmmakers never know where the arc is going to go, because you're just following real life and it's unfolding before your eyes. You don't know, and you don't really pre-write the script. So that part can be unsettling, but also very exciting. And it can take forever. But the other side of it is because you have a character like Jack who does so many things. He is not just like Mr. Toilet. He's also an artist. He's a troublemaker. He is, he does the funniest thing. He went to Singularity University in Northern California for like a semester. I mean, he does all these things all over. He makes all these inventions. And so that part was hard to hone in because I wanted to show people all of that, but I knew I would confuse them if I showed them every. It's like showing somebody an ADD child who's running all over the world. And you're like, wait, what's happening? But I think what I decided to do is I wanted people to know that childlike wonder that Jack has. And he uses that childlike wonder, which is actually quite genius, to solve problems. And I tried to capture that in a lot of the animations that we did because I wanted to see what is it like to live inside his mind. And what it's like is to be 5 years old or 10 years old or however old he is on a daily basis. It changes. But it's like when you are your 5-year-old self is when you're your purest self. And you can solve anything. And you have all these ideas and you don't filter them. And that's what it's like being with Jack. And that's what it's like to solve a problem. And that's why it feels like it's easier for him, maybe than other people, like you said, who become cynical or find they find the problem, not the solution. So that was the goal. And that made it easier.
And the real thing about solving problem is never to grow up because adults are deteriorated children. So if you stay childlike, everything is so simple. You see it in the simplest way. You can narrate it. You can communicate complicated issues into very, very simple messaging. And that's where the media engagement is very strong because every time I tell them a story, they don't have a lot of space. So I simplify it until the narrative is so in its essence in every report, especially television. You just have few seconds and then everything is told.
Yeah.
I love near the beginning of the. I hope you don't mind, Lily, tipping this, but there was a condition you weren't allowed to use the word shit on BBC, and I really want to know: did you actually go and use it anyway?
So I couldn't use it, but I broke another rule there. But it was live telecast, so they could do nothing. I say that the toilet is a great equalizer because whether you are the Queen of England or you are just a normal person, you still have to go to the toilet. And the broadcaster was saying like, please do not make assertion about our royal family.
That's hilarious.
See, he's a troublemaker. I told you.
Well, I love, Lily, that you said he's an artist and he's a troublemaker. It's just so funny. I'd say a professional troublemaker. That's what I'd say.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
I always very worried that the government of some country will just take offense and no punish me, but so far I haven't got into real trouble, although I try to make trouble all the time.
Well, Jack, we Canadians are pretty conservative, so you might have to be careful. So just be careful at the Q&A at the first screen. When's the first screening, Lily?
The first screening is Saturday night, 5:45, and we feel like that the director of the film festival is not so conservative, which is why he chose the film.
I'm kind of teasing a little bit, but not entirely.
Well, we had an experience with Canadians today. We ran around in poo costumes all over town, and we were trying to get people to take pictures with us and yell, "Love my toilet." And the only people that would do it were kids, middle schoolers.
Yeah.
So,
that's pretty interesting. So I was actually kind of making a joke there, going to make some comment about conservative Singaporeans and conservative Canadians, but apparently maybe we're a close second. What do you think, Jack?
Let's say they are just opening up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I love your solution, Jack. Don't ever grow up. Maybe that's and I would think, Lily, you must have. As you were filming this and even just as you say with the character and all the stuff that you didn't show us, you must see a couple other films here. You got a whole series, frankly.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, you could do the day in the life of Jack every single day and do a whole Netflix series. I mean, you could also do a series on the technology of toilets. You could do it on every country. I mean, but yeah, Jack is probably the most interesting because you kind of never know what's going to happen with him. Yeah. And that's the beautiful part.
You know what I would like to? Maybe to appear on one of these late night show.
Oh.
Like, what is that?
Like Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah.
Or yeah. What's the other guy?
How about Trevor Noah?
Yeah.
Oh, Trevor Noah would be perfect. You know why Trevor Noah would be perfect? Because he grew up without a toilet when he was younger, or he grew up with a really bad toilet. And him and Oprah talked about it. They talked about having to go in an outhouse and go through the, go into like a hole and it goes to the bottom of the ground. Yeah.
Or to talk at Oprah show.
Yeah.
Is that your Oprah show?
Yeah. Well, Oprah's on a new channel, but Trevor Noah would be great for you.
Yeah, Jack, I love that you start. I love that you start at the top, Jack. Let's go for Oprah. That's fantastic. Yeah, from Face to Face with David Peck to Oprah. Yeah. I mean, it's a natural progression, really.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He's like, it's possible. Let's just call her.
That's right. Let's just pick up the phone and call her.
Maybe she's listening in, and then she will say, "Let's do it."
Let's do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, listen, it's been sadly we got to wrap this conversation up. I wish we could keep it going. Maybe we can do a part 2 down the road. That would be delightful. But thanks to you both for taking the time today. We've been chatting with Jack Sim and Lily Zepeda about their new film, Mr. Toilet, premiering at Hot Docs this year, 2019. Thanks to you both. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.